gave me a couple of minutes to speak, but being my usual self, I need, because this is so important to this community. And if you look around this room, I mean, I've been on council and I've represented, we just recently gone into district elections, but Westborough had no representation. Mark Nogales now lives in Westborough. But given the dynamics, we've had no representation. And with this general plan, it is going to make a difference. If you look around this room, I'd probably say a quarter, maybe a third are Westborough residents, the rest are staff. And so this is back in the day, when I joined council 22 years ago, we were going through our general plan, which is a 20-year process. And that set the course. Everything you see from 22 years ago to now was because you have to abide by the general plan. We set it up to deal, we said east of 101, that's where the growth was with the biotech. At that time, approximately, there were 20 companies. Now we have 235 as a result. And as they grow, we have employees population in the next 3 years. We have 17,000 new jobs on the books. That's just from east of 101. And that means that means they're not all going to live here because we don't have the housing yet. Okay, so what's going to happen now, and which you really have to participate, what's going to be developed now in the next 20 years is going to set the growth pattern for the city. Back in the day, we knew the business and the goal was to develop biotech. We promised the neighborhoods that were mostly developed, but that we would protect the housing growth from the neighborhoods. So now most of our neighborhoods are, I would say all of the neighborhoods are fully grown. But when we did that, neighborhoods, we had housing, and when the developers came in, they were mandated to build parks for your neighborhood. Well, that's done. There is no money to maintain your park. So I'm sorry, I just get beat up everywhere I go. So I want to share with you my frustration, and this is what you have to look out for. This is why you have to stay engaged, okay? So we have general plans, we have revenues, the council has been very wise, and we're doing a recession plan to see this balance. But our parks are old. This one is new. We fought for that for Westborough. It's one of the last parks. Wonderful parks. But the other parks throughout the city are like 40 years old, and they cost money to renovate. And we can only send out tax, and there are the roads and everything else that compete. So you guys, you folks, you have to stay engaged, because what's going to happen, we have called the job housing balance, and because of our success of our last general plan, we protected open space, so we're fortunate. We have a lot of open space, but that's it. Any other open space is going to be owned by private property or people, or they're owned by the county, okay? So ergo, let me just give you an example. People got mad at us because we let Summerhill build, they took out South City Car Wash. How could you let them do that? We didn't own the land. A private individual owned the land. He sold it. It wasn't the city. We cannot stop that kind of growth because the general plan, El Camino is a transit corridor. Now what we do stop is he can't build a 20-story building, because this is what this is going to be all about. It will dictate in what areas, height requirements, traffic, et cetera, et cetera. We're getting pushback. Obviously, we're going from a lovely community, and we're going to be a very big moderate metropolitan city. We are mandated by the states. It's called job housing balance. I just told you we have 17,000 new jobs on the books and no housing. That means we have to provide housing. Otherwise, the state penalizes us. They take away transportation dollars, and then they come in and say, South San Francisco, you can't dictate height, anything else. You will build a 20-story building because you're behind. So it's going to be up to you and all our other districts to get involved and say, designate in your neighborhoods what you want. For instance, if you notice our traffic is picking up in Westborough, that's because of the jobs over east of 101 and the people who love living on the coast side. The only access is either Westborough or 92 and 92's gridlock. We have a commercial corridor right now on Gellert to the north. That's a lot of old businesses. That's privately held. And it's going to change. You're seeing what happened down on El Camino Real with the bowling alley, that lovely black structure, and I'm being facetious when I say lovely black. But these are things. This is your opportunity to say, this is how we want Westborough neighborhood to grow or not to grow. This is your opportunity to say, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. That's why you need a voice. When we hold meetings in other areas, we have 40, 50 residents coming out from Sunshine Gardens, Winston Manor, whatever. But look at us now. It's been that way. Shame on us, and I'm a Westborough resident, so I can say that. But this one, I can't begin to tell you how, what I'm trying to tell you, if you say nothing and do nothing, you're going to get whatever is handed out to you. Because we have a cajillion meetings, which we believe in community engagement. There are things going on, but unless you speak and know what you want, you're going to get something that you don't want. So it's incumbent upon you to tell your neighbors to come, to speak out. It is just so important that things are changing. Ergo, right here at Olympic and Oakmont, it was open space, green, that was owned, the owner found a developer, so now we're going to have housing, which is good, but it's sat vacant idle for a while because there's a major earthquake fault there, so it gets very problematic in which to build homes and along the fault line. But anywhere owners, they're selling their properties, people are selling them and they're going to be converted into housing, so that we can't stop. But this gives you an opportunity to have a voice, to see how you like Westborough developed. It gives you a great opportunity, and it's important because there are changes. Change is good, don't get me wrong, but manage change, manage growth. What we want, we have to accept certain things, but it also allows us to control it. So, end of lecture. I was only supposed to talk 2 minutes. Next.
Mark.
It's always a hard act to follow, Carol. I want you to write down this date, September 10th. We are having a town hall here in Westborough, not at this location, but at Westborough Middle School, is that right, Mike? And I just want to follow what the mayor said. It's really, really important to be involved in our community. When I was growing up in Westborough, and the council actually did a town hall in different neighborhoods, and Westborough had one, and there wasn't a lot of people. It might have been maybe more staff than actual people, actual residents there. So I think it's important to show up, to have a face, to have a voice, to let us know what you would like to see in our community. Now, in the last election, Westborough actually had probably the second largest in terms of voter participation. But that's just an election. You need to show up and participate in your community. Now, I love Westborough. I grew up in Westborough with my sister. And when I got married, I told my wife, I hope you love the fog because we're not leaving South City. But just like any other young family, it got really expensive. And so for the very first time, I had a conversation with my wife, and I said, I think we might need to move away from South City. And that hurt, because I see myself growing up in South San Francisco. But thanks to a first-time homebuyers loan, I was able to stay and live in Westborough and be about 2 minutes away from my parents, so I can drop off my kids, especially when they act up. But it's important to hear from all of you in terms of what you want to see, what you want in this community to help us grow. If we're going too fast, you should let us know. If there are things here in the community you want to see, we need to hear that from you. Because I can tell you, in other neighborhoods in South San Francisco, the mayor and Florida knows, we hear it. We hear it from other neighborhoods. They're active and engaged. So I implore you and I challenge you to show up, to challenge us, to say this is what we see for the future of Westborough and for the future of South San Francisco. So I just want to say thank you. This is just the first step, and I hope to see you more at these meetings. So thank you very much. I'm going to call Councilwoman Flor Nicholas.
Good evening, everyone, and I would like to echo my colleagues. In joining you to have a part in this general plan. So, like Carol said, 20 years ago, this plan was made, and that we were successful in having all these biotech companies east of Grand Avenue. So this time we would like to show our vision for our future. 31 years ago, my husband and I brought our young children to South San Francisco, and this became our home. Our home is now here. We now have 2 grandchildren, so we would like to make sure that what we will have in the future is South San Francisco for all of us. So make sure that you remain engaged and have a pleasant meeting for today.
So we've made it through the welcome, and now we're working into, there's going to be a kind of a 3-part presentation here. We're going to have an icebreaker just so you all can get to know each other a little bit better. Then I'm going to do hopefully a very short presentation about why we're here and what the general plan is all about, what this meeting is all about. And then most importantly, we're going to actually have you all in your small groups get together and have a conversation and a discussion about some questions we'd like to ask you. So that's the idea of tonight's meeting. We're going to try to keep it very fluid and open and hopefully hear a lot of great information from you all. Also, before I get started, we have 2 interpreters here as well in case there's anyone that's either Mandarin speaking or Tagalog. Can I have you 2 come up and just represent yourselves real quick, just in case there's anyone that needs your assistance?
Hello, magandang gabi. So my name is Miles. So I'm for the Filipino group.
You say it's Tagalog, but I don't know if there's anyone here that needs your assistance.
So sinong nagtatagalog dito na kailangan ng tulong?
Okay.
Good.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Adrian?
Hello, I'm Chinese Mandarin interpreter Adrian. 等一下简报之后呢，如果有需要我中文的话呢，可以跟我一起参加这个小组的讨论。So if you need Mandarin interpretation after the meeting, you can join me in a small discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. So we do have resources in both languages as well. The PowerPoint is available, printed. If you need additional assistance, please grab one of those from the front of the room. Okay, so with that, like I mentioned, we just want to start with a very short icebreaker, just to start to get to know each other a little bit. I think eventually we might have you guys get closer together and kind of group up a little bit more, but just for now, you have sheets on your tables. And our icebreaker question is really just to get to know what you love about South San Francisco. Why do you live here? Tell us a little bit about your story. I'm going to just give you a quick 2 minutes to write that down, and then if you'd like, share it with your neighbor. And then I might call on a couple of you to share your story, and then we're going to launch right into the presentation. So on your marks, get set, go.
So my name is Veronica. I actually recently moved here last March with my husband and our children. My husband works for the City and County of San Francisco, and he's at SFO. and I took a job with the school district. I'm at the district office in business services. We did decide to move here, so my husband didn't have to commute as far from the East Bay side, and so I left my job with the County Office of Education and came to the school district level. We decided to move into Westborough. Well, we're renting, and I had to find somewhere to live pretty quickly. And we also have young children who are in kindergarten, and I also have a 3-year-old that I'm still struggling to find preschool for. It is very expensive, and the wait lists are quite long. But I'm very happy that we did end up in Westborough because I love the school, I love the community, and I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Veronica. That was great. Anyone else want to? Thank you very much. Anyone else want to share their story? I'm going to pick on someone. If you don't, raise your hand. Jackie, do you want to come up and join me? There you go.
Well, I'm from Jackie Jacober. We live over on off of Gellert in that part of, and I don't know, we must be old people here because we moved here in 1965 to a brand new house, and actually we were priced out of San Francisco that long ago because we had a 2-bedroom house and 1 bathroom and all of a sudden 3 children. I would just say Westborough was a great place to raise a family. At that time it was a good choice, and it turned out that my husband, the city and county of San Francisco, moved him to the airport. And so for only a couple of years did he have to go into the city. But after that, it was very easy for him to commute, and he was never a commuter. I would say at that time, everybody on the street had little children about the same age, and they were just like a pack running through all the neighborhoods. I mean, all the houses had kids, and they all knew each other, and they all played with each other. So it was a great place to raise kids at that time. Of course, it's changed now because they're kids. We have great-grandchildren who don't even live in the area. But the schools were convenient. Oxford, of course, was closed, but the kids could walk, and so that was. And it was a place to get involved in the community. I did one of the first things I did was get involved in the League of Women Voters when they formed it up here in North San Mateo County. And the reason I joined is because they had babysitting. so anyway, but it was a great place to raise kids. And of course, then moving on, and we still stay here because I'm comfortable with it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you. Excellent. This is exactly why we're here. We're here to really hear your stories, what you love about the city, why you live here. We'll also talk a little bit about your concerns. And really to get into this, just wanted to give a very high-level understanding of what a general plan is. It's basically a big picture guiding document. It's a policy document that'll help set the course for the next 20 to 25 years. It's really meant to identify what the future vision is, what the shared vision is of the community for the future. We want to understand what some of the community strengths are, what you love, again, about the community, about the city that you want to preserve, but then also a little bit about what the challenges are and what we might need help with. And then again, moving forward towards that common vision, we've already started to talk to folks. There's been a lot of mention about the strengths being about the people, the diversity, the culture, the revitalized downtown, the world center of biotech, a place for middle-class families, all of which are the clear virtues of this community. We've also heard about some of the issues being around traffic and parking and housing, as we heard here tonight, and just general access to opportunities. So this is a whole process. It's going to be about a 2-year process. We'll talk a lot about it here tonight. We'll also be introducing new ideas about healthy communities, about climate change and the environment, about sustainability and environmental justice, a lot of the key issues that we've also heard about as we move through the process. There's been a lot of work done to date. Obviously, your city staff has been very busy over the past few years putting together many different planning documents that will actually kind of raise up into this general plan process. This is just a select few from East of 101 Transportation Plan, a Bike and Ped Plan, an El Camino Real Plan, Downtown Specific Plan. All of these different planning efforts are going to fit underneath the larger umbrella of the general plan. We just wanted to make a quick mention of those. So in terms of the overall schedule for this process, obviously this is a very, very beginning of the process. This is the first phase. We're really trying to craft the vision again and the strategies and policies and everything that will kind of go into this process. But it really starts here of understanding from you what, again, the strengths are, what some of the weaknesses are, so that we can take that information and then balance that with the quantitative data, of the data analysis that we're doing at the same time, which goes into that existing conditions reports, which will then kind of spearhead the entire process of the visioning and alternatives. Again, about a 2-year process that we're planning. That is, as we've talked about numerous times, this is just one of many community engagement opportunities. We're going to have a larger workshop. There'll be online surveys. We're going to have pop-up events throughout the community, including a couple we'll talk about here tonight. So again, we very much value your time and effort of being here tonight and helping sharing your thoughts and vision. So with that, we've started the baseline conditions analysis. So again, there's an existing conditions report that looks at what is on the ground currently, what the demographics are, and some of the interesting demographic facts that we pulled out thus far. As you could see here, in 2007, approximately 67,000 folks here in this city, which makes up about 9% of the county total. We know the city incorporated in 1908 with only about 2,000 folks living in this city. The major boom between 1940 and 1960, very similar to other cities, where it went from about 7,000 people to 40,000, so a big jump there. And another jump was between 1990 and the present of another 25% approximately, with a housing increase of approximately 2,100 units during that time. We also have been looking at the evolving, as we're calling it, the evolving age profile. Really looking at, again, kind of demographics when we're thinking about age. We've seen that the younger generation, the youth as we're calling them, it's been fairly consistent. In fact, there's been a bit of a decline between 1990 and 2000, which was interesting. And during that same period, the older adults, those 60 and over, there's been quite an increase by about 69% during that time, which is pretty incredible, which tells us a lot about the aging population and some of the services and needs we're going to really have to think about for that population moving forward. In terms of households, a few interesting facts here. Since 2000, the number of households with a parent or in-law has doubled. So family sizes are growing a bit from 2.3% to 4.7%. Households with non-relative roommates has also started to increase. The average household size, interestingly, has also gone up a bit during that time. So we're finding that, again, there's more people living in the same house together as household sizes are growing, again, as we know, that is related to the housing issue here and affordability. Race and ethnicity, especially here in Westborough, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So we're starting high level citywide, then we're going to get down to the Westborough level. In terms of race and ethnicity, since 1990, there has been significant changes. The white population, in fact, has actually decreased from 45% of the population all the way down to 19%, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. And then the Asian or Pacific Islander, or API, sometimes it's referenced, has actually increased from 23% to 41% during that same time. So again, very interesting facts. Hispanic and Latino population has also increased from about 23% to 34% during that same time. So a lot to think about the shifting demographics citywide, and we'll talk about again kind of how that's reflected here in Westborough. In terms of language and place, kind of goes hand in hand with what we just mentioned there. 58% of residents noted that they speak a language other than English in their homes. Again, this is during a 2017 census, I believe, American Community Survey census. 63% of children have one or two foreign-born parents, which is fascinating. And there was an increase in foreign-born residents in the city by about 10%, again, since 1990. So again, considering there are many non-English native speakers in and around the city, we have to think about opportunities for those that might not have the same access to jobs or education or other opportunities citywide. Now diving a little deeper into Westborough, we wanted to give you a quick snapshot of the profile here. Westborough does actually house the largest population of all the other sub-areas in this city, right around 13,400 in 2017, which is about 1/5 of the city's total population. So again, large in that respect. We mentioned a lot again about the API or Asian and Pacific Islander make up about 73% of the population here in Westborough. Very large contingent, and just thinking how that correlates citywide, that's about 40% of all API or Asian or Pacific Islanders that live here in Westborough. So again, a very large contingent here in the area. And that's followed by 10% of Hispanic or Latino residents as well. In addition, about 18% are over 65 in the area, and that makes up about 1/4 of all residents that are 65 or older live here in Westborough. So just some interesting facts to chew on. We'll go through this again at the tables if you have any specific questions. Finally, the profile of Westborough, just kind of thinking about it in terms of land uses. There's about 4,100 households or homes here in the Westborough area. 62 acres of park, which is actually pretty substantial for this area. It makes up a typical, so for this city, the average is about 3.7 acres of park per 1,000 residents, where here in Westborough, there's 4.7 acres. So quite a big jump in the number of open space or just parks in general. But interestingly enough, given that there's this many parks, there's actually only 86% of the households actually are within what we consider a walkable distance, a 1/4 mile from parks. And we'll see on the next slide kind of how that correlates, as opposed to 93% of residents citywide live near a park. So this next slide will reflect that a little bit. I'm not sure if you see I guess you can see my pointer. So there's obviously a large part of this area is made up of single-family residential, about half is single-family residential, and there's a large pocket just north of us where a concentration of the parks are located in what we call greenways. So there's a lot of access to parks and open space north, but in the southern area, as you can see, it's just a lot of residential homes with little access to parks. So that kind of makes up that correlation. Even though there's a lot of parkland here, there isn't necessarily that same access for everyone to that same parkland. And then also there are obviously the retail uses in the Westborough area. We have a school represented here, middle school, one that closed fairly recently. So a large concentration of single family with some pockets of duplexes or multifamily residential areas as well. So with that was a very quick representation of just some of the basic demographics, which you all probably are pretty well aware of, but sometimes it's interesting to actually see them in numbers on the screen. It makes you kind of think about the breakdown. Did you have any specific questions or anything that we could help answer on anything that you've heard thus far before we move into the most important part of actually hearing from you all and having you discuss some questions we have for you? Any questions? No, that was that clear. I nailed it. All right. Great. Okay, so with that, as I mentioned, we are definitely here. We want to hear from you now. And so we're going to have a facilitated discussion. You'll have a facilitator at each table that's going to run you through a series of questions. We're going to first ask you to introduce and meet your neighbors or your facilitator. We're going to do about a 30-minute facilitated exercise. I'll let you know when we're halfway through, and at the end, I'm going to ask for one person from each group to stand up and report back on the discussion and tell us what you learned, what you'd like to share from the group. And these are generally the 5 questions that we're going to be asking. Don't worry, you'll have them at your table. And the facilitator will run you through each one, and then we'll reconvene and hear what we all talked about. Any questions on that before we get started? Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Diana. I was the facilitator for this group. And so one of the things that folks liked about their neighborhood and why they moved there to begin with was the affordability in the 70s and the 80s. They liked the schools and the proximity to San Francisco, to the airport, to their schools, and all of the common green areas. And then they loved a lot of the same things. And they like the people and the community that they have here. Things that they like the least and that they would like to change. We discussed the wait list for the pre-K and for the daycare. Pedestrian dangers, some intersections, particularly Junipero Serra and El Camino, and that the community is changing, so it's not a lot of the same people. And then in terms of key issues, we talked about a lot of mice and rats in the neighborhood, as well as raccoons, the influx of RVs, and once again, the pedestrian crossings and walkways. And then when we asked what you'd like to see in the next 20 years, we talked about balanced services for the children, for parents, and for older adults, and improved infrastructure, which includes roads and sewers.
My name is Susan Ty. I've been a Westborough resident for over 30 years. I moved up here right behind the fire station when it was first built, all these brand new houses, okay? And the reason why the area is very special, it's very safe, a nice school district. All my kids learn how to swim at the Orange Pool, learn how to read at the wonderful library here at Orange Park. And I thought it was a very nice, safe neighborhood to raise children. And now they're all gone. They're yeah, the neighborhood has really changed. Used to have a whole bunch of kids come for Halloween treats, and now nobody rings the doorbell anymore. So it's really been a changed neighborhood. Oh. Oh my God. Yeah, one of the problems is parking here. The demographic has changed, so there are more people living in these houses and they have more cars, so they park all over the place. It's very hard to find parking. There are certain blind spots, they kind of overflow into the intersections where they start to park. And it's hard for us who, can't see too well and trying to make that turn at the intersection where they do the overflow parking. Also, there is, let's see. I have just been recently unable to walk because I had knee surgery, and then also because I have arthritis in my back. So most of the time I get driven, but lately, because my husband had health issues, I have to accompany him to the South City hospital. And my daughter has been trying to have me cross that lovely intersection, and I can't make it. Okay, it has potholes. I can't make it in time. It's 26 seconds. 26 seconds is not even half a minute, and just by the time I reach the intersection, some car sees, oh, I didn't make it across in the 26 seconds, so they are allowed to honk me as I'm getting onto the onto the street has happened to me in front of Kaiser Hospital, in front of Westborough and El Camino and Spruce, where they really haunt me really good because they're so impatient. And I'm wearing this because I'm afraid I'm gonna get run over, so they can see me. So, oh, yeah, Westborough is kind of underserved by the transportation. There's a new library. There's a lot of senior citizens who would like to maybe attend the new new center for dancing, reading, doing artwork, but they are reading at the library, but they can't get over here because there isn't any transportation. There's an ECR that goes like a little loop around the downtown area and to the BART station, but there's nothing here for the seniors. And I think they wouldn't even mind paying as long as they could get to some of the facilities.
There was one other thing that was brought up in our group, which was free beer on Sundays. Is that what people would like? I did take note of that.
I think that might have been Eric's idea. All right, Miles, you want to come up? Thank you very much. Hand for Susan. Thank you.
So this is for the group from the far left. Number one, why did you move to the neighborhood? Why do you still live there? Survey says, area is peaceful and quiet, great location, great view, and quiet neighborhood. Great location and community. Number two, what do you love about the neighborhood? What makes it unique and special? Proximity to the parks and the church, the BART station. That 50 people gave that answer. Short distances to SFO, and the weather. Number three, what are the things you like least about your neighborhood that you would like to change? Well, petty crime, car break-ins around the park. Kind of the same answer for what are the key issues that your neighborhood is facing now. Also, petty crime. And then imagine yourself living 20 years from now. What are the issues that you see? Traffic is the complaint of that group. Thank you.
Okay, so a lot of the same answers, I think. Why did you move to the neighborhood here? It's safe, it's quiet, it really accommodates families. We're very accessible, close to SFO, a lot of space. We love our police department. They're very responsive. And what do you love about your neighborhood? What makes it unique? Schools. We have good schools. Our park and rec has very good activities for the children. Now they should have more for seniors. Right? We love our common greens. It's walkable to shopping, really. And we also love our weather some of the time. What are the things you like least about the neighborhood? Unleashed dogs in different parks, airport noise, lack of trails for walking and running. We also do not like the bike lanes up on Westborough. We feel that it's very dangerous for fast car going uphill, and seldom do we ever see anybody biking up there anyway. It's also dangerous because of a lot of parents park their cars outside of Westborough Middle School waiting for the kids, and it's very dangerous, I think, to have that kind of plan. So somebody needs to talk to the school. What are the key issues that your neighborhood is facing now? We see more homeless people, RVs parked near in the area. There's a huge lack of parking space. Police sometimes. There are abandoned cars, and one of our members find that calling the special number from the police department wasn't quite as responsive as in the past. Imagine yourself living in and working in South City in 20 years, if we're still living. We imagine that there will be more automatic cars, vehicles, so we think increased lighting will be important, a wider lane to be more safe. Street signage should be consistently maintained and good. We also like to see a hospital closer by. The only one we have is Kaiser, and not everybody is Kaiser. And we also love to see more restaurants nearby, easy dining, different events, other topics. We like people to think, more thinking about traffic and parking. That's some of the big issues. And finally, a very nice statement. We like to keep South City, South City.
Thank you. A big hand for you all. That was excellent. Thank you very much for indulging us and going through the exercise. That was all wonderful information to share. So I'm going to just quickly wrap this up with a couple next steps items. Reminder that there's other events coming up. So this meeting, again, is one of many. We have the CAC meetings, or the Community Advisory Committee. We have the sub-area meetings, obviously, we're doing now. There's a series coming after this. I'll show you that shortly. Pop-up meetings, I'll show you what that looks like as well. And then we also did have a series of stakeholder meetings that will have another round coming up. And all of this is feeding into a larger community workshop that we're going to hold in the November timeframe. We're hoping to bring everyone together to talk about what we've heard from you thus far and talk a little bit more about the visioning and next steps as we move forward. And then one caveat to the CAC meetings that we're really excited about as well is we're going to hold forums to talk about big issues and big topics that are coming up. There's going to be one coming up in October that's going to talk through the emerging trends in mobility. We heard a lot about traffic and issues here. We're going to talk a little bit about regionally what folks are doing, other trends. We talked about driverless cars and other kind of technologies that are coming. So it's going to be more of an informational forum. Well, we'll bring in some experts. We'll bring in folks both that work at the city and others regionally surrounding that could share some information and just have a larger topic discussion. We think that's going to be really fun. So we hope you can all make it to that. Next big meeting is coming up tomorrow. I expect to see you all at the town hall meeting where the mayor will be there and we'll all be there as well. We're going to have actually a pop-up tent at that event where we're going to hold very similar exercises that we did here tonight. Also do some fun visioning exercises with folks. It'll be very interactive, and as well as a bunch of other great information that other departments will be sharing. So we hope to see you there. I mentioned the sub-area meeting. So this is one of 9 total that we're doing. So we're trying to get out to every single sub-area. This was the first. The next one's on the 29th coming up this week. And then we have a series going on throughout September all the way till the 18th. And all this information I'll show you shortly will also be on the project website. So I very much encourage you to go there to see the summaries. There'll be video, pictures, and all that from these meetings as well. So you could really kind of get a sense of what your neighbors and other community members are talking about. Another fun event coming up that we're really looking forward to being at as well is the Concerts in the Park on September 28th at Orange Memorial Park. We'll also be there to help talk to the community there. These pop-up events, we really see these as opportunities of going out to the community at meetings and events where we know people are going to be so that we get a good cross-section of folks interacted in this. We very much value your time and appreciate you coming here tonight, but we want to give you as many opportunities as possible to plug in. And this we think will be a great one. And then lastly, we do have a project website, as I mentioned. We have these fun magnets that we created that I encourage you to take with you. It's very easy to remember. The project website name is shapesssf.net or .com or .org. You really can't go wrong. It'll all direct you straight to this website. It has a lot of great information, again, about this project and FAQ, frequently asked questions. All the information from the meetings will be there, so I very much encourage you to go there. And I'm going to leave Lisa's contact information here. She's the General Plan Program Administrator. If you have any additional questions, please direct it to her. Let's see. So in terms of just last-minute items, the storytelling cards and all that you filled out, you can go ahead and leave those on the table and or put them in the comment box on your way out. There was comment sheets. If there's anything additional that you'd like to add that you didn't get a chance to, please fill those out, put them in the comment box. And lastly, we'd love for you to add a dot to that live and or work map. If you didn't get a chance to do that on the way in, just to get a sense of who we talked to here tonight would be excellent. Thank you very much, all. Have a great evening.